So there's a lot of times I'm asked when I'm playing the bass, especially like when I do fills or if I'm doing live sessions or just like noodling around and soloing. Like, how do you figure out what you're gonna do and how do you move? How do you get those notes? I don't know how you're finding that. I hear that every so often, but it's actually a pretty basic thing and kind of simple when you practice it and get to know about it a little bit more. Once you get the idea of how it works, uh, it makes it a lot easier going forward. When I'm talking about our modes, what modes are, or they are a part of whatever key you're playing in. So let's say I'm in this example today, I'm going to be playing in the key of C, because if you play the keys, it makes it a little bit easier. Uh, and with if you're thinking about notes, which I'm not going to be, but if you do, they're all whole notes. They're not flats or sharps or whatever. Um, but it starts off learning using the major scale. So first of all, I'm not going to go through what the major scale is and all that. So for this video, you should already know what the major scale is or the major scale pattern. When it comes to bass and guitar, you kind of think in patterns, and it's probably the same thing for the keys. But I don't play the keys, but I'm sure it goes the same way, especially when you're playing chords, and that's actually going to be in this too. Um, but you start off with the major scale pattern, and the Nashville number system will help with this as well. So if you don't know it, if you know the major scale, here it goes for you real quick. So this is a major scale. I'm in C. And to count that out for the number system, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Now, when you play in these modes, when I go into it, you can think of it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1 if you want to. That helps, especially when it comes to placing. Um, but just know, you do not count each note starting from 1 when you're playing these modes, and you'll see what I mean when I go into it. But back to the major scale, and the major scale is the first mode. I'm not going to go into the names of each mode because I'm trying to keep it simple. You can look that up if you want to find out what the name of each mode is, which, Aeolian, and you'll hear people say Lydian or Phrygian or Dorian. You'll hear people say D Dorian a lot. But if you want to learn those, I say look it up. That's what Google's for. But for here, what I'm going to do right now is just pretty much break down how they work. All right, so back at it again. We're starting in the C major scale. I'm going to start off with the C major scale, which is 1. And then I'll also go to the minor scale, which would be a 6, which is the sixth note in the major scale. All right, and it's also the minor scale. But anyway, back to it. C major, right? First mode, actually. All right. So you're like, okay, how do I go to the next mode? Well, how modes work is that for each number, that's where you start, and that is also where you end. So in the major scale, you start off on C or the 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Now, if I'm going to do the second mode, I'm going to start on the 2, staying in the same key and going from 2 to 2. That'll be the second mode. And that's. And again, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. I did that wrong. Hold on. Got to correct that. Anyway, it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. That's the proper way. Sorry about that. So, and you do that going up. Let's go to the 3, or the third note, which would be, right? And that's also minor too, a minor key. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. And again, all you're doing is going from the first note in that scale to the end, which will also be the first note or the octave. So back up to C, right? Starting in the first mode. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And this is why it's important to know that major scale pattern, because that's going to be the base of practice and learning how these modes move up. All right? Because every mode is going to be a specific shape or a specific pattern, however you want to look at that. But it's going to be a specific pattern. With the bass and guitar, if you remember these patterns, it'll allow you to like, let's say if I had to play a 4, I would play the 4th mode. Like if a song is, let's say a song is 6, 4, 1, 5, right? So back in C, now the sixth string note is down here, right, in C. So I'll go 6, 4, 1, 5. Now what I can do in this, I can go 6, 4, 1, 5, if I wanted to. So I'm going to go back to the beginning, and I'm going to break down something a little different too. Something that will help as far as making it sound a little interesting. And you could do this if you're playing the keys. You could do this with chords too. So for instance, I mean, because at the end of the day, a chord is 1, 3, 5, right? And you could do an arpeggio 1, 3, 5, 7 if you want. So that's what I'm going to do. That's how you kind of mix it up with each mode. So like if I go back to C, I can play an arpeggio, or sorry, a triad, which would be 1, 3, 5. I can do that. I can do that as a passing tone. So yeah, I can do that with that. I can do that in any mode. So back to the modes. So that's one thing you can use. And hopefully this ain't too scrambled, but you can use triads as a way of moving within a mode. So let's go. We're gonna go all the way up to the 5th mode. I'm gonna get you to the 5th mode. All right. Still in C, right? All right. So here we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. First mode. Second mode, starting on the 2, the second note. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. My brain farted. All right, and then go down to the 3. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. All right, down to the 4. 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I wanted to go to the 5 because I like the 5. I play that a lot when I solo. And down to the 5. 5, 6, 7, 8, or 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, let me show you something. I'm going to do a loop real quick, and I'm just going to do just C. And I'll show you how I use the 5 in that, just to show how you can use a mode. And I'll use a triad in there. I'll do that. A triad, or I'll do an arpeggio. All right, so here you go. Triad, arpeggio. You see how I did that? And that's still in the key of C. All right, but it's using a mode to do improv pretty much. Now let's do this. We're still with the C. I will go to the 2. The 2 is gonna be weird, but I'm gonna do it again. 2, right here, second mode. And you see, it's a little weird, but I'm gonna use it. Watch. arpeggio, or sorry, triad, arpeggio. All right, I ended on that one just to get back to the root. So let's move on up. Another one that's going to be kind of weird, but I'll use the 3. This will be the 3. You see that? How it sounds different? But it's like, oh, those are like sounds like different notes, like that aren't there, but they are. It's in the key, just a different pattern, starting on the 3. And then you can also use pentatonics. Arpeggio. Right? There you go. Yeah, you see how I did that? That's using the 3. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. You see how that works out? So, in essence, if you're playing within a key, right, as we are in key of C, if you play the number to the same number as far as going root to root, which it's not really root to root because 2 would not be the root, it'd still be the 1. But if you play 2 to 2 within the scale, and this is a pattern, see? That's a pattern. Like for me, if I know I'm playing a 4, I know what that pattern is going to be, a 4/4. And right here, I'm on a 4 string, so I only got the triad, which is okay, right? Because now if I'm going right, I can do this. You see? Right? You see how I did that? That was just like a little turnaround that was just an arpeggio or just a triad. Now, you may ask, okay, so how does this apply to chords if I'm playing the keys? Well, which you can do the same thing. You know, you have your 1, 3, 5 as a chord, right? Now you can play those individually. So if you could do that even with your left or right hand, however you want to do it, as long as you have, you have some matching chords, obviously with each hand, or chords that work. But just using your right hand, and I was going to pull out my keyboard to show you, and I'm not a keys player, but the concept is still the same. It doesn't change. So let's do this. I'm going to stay in the same key, but I'm going to use the 6. Now on the bass, the 6 is here with this in the key of C. It could be there or it can be here. I had to check my watch and make sure it's still recording because that would be embarrassing if it wasn't. But anyway, we're going to try 6. We're going to go down here though. So the reason I'm doing this is there is a relativity to a 6 and a 1. And the reason is the 1 and the 6, or the 6 and the 1, obviously they're the same notes, but they're connecting. You know, so if you're playing in a minor key, you could play a major key if you wanted to. Or if you hear songs in a minor key and you're like, okay, I want to know what's all available. Well, you can find the root as the 1 is going to be a part of that, or the I guess in the circle of fifths, that's like the connectors there or whatever, blah 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 blah. But anyway, all right, so we're gonna use the 6. All right. All right, so that's the 6, and I'm gonna use the 1, which is the first mode. I just messed up because I started on the 4 because I'm playing a 4 string and not a 5. Now it sounds weird, right? But let me use a 3. Let me see how that sounds. That wasn't a 3. I failed you. My brain gotta remember I'm on my 5 string or a 4 string and not a 5 or 6. Let me do it again. I'll do the 3 down here. You see how that sounds good? Because it's a minor key on top of a minor key, so it's just naturally gonna work. Yeah, right? Now, if you want to get better at playing modes, what you got to do is practice every mode, obviously over and over again. That's going to help going through each one. Like even just running it up. You can run it up like that all the way up and just keep on doing that. But one of the things that's going to help as well is, let's say we're back at that 3, right? What I would practice is I would practice going up the scale and then backwards to the beginning. But not only that, I would also mix up the notes, because getting used to mixing up the notes within the scale gives you more range when it comes to improv and soloing. Right? And then you can go. And I know it's crazy because I'm like staring at the camera while I'm playing these scales. But the funny thing is how I play and how I think when I play, I'm visualizing my fingers and what they're doing. So I'm able to look at the camera and I'm seeing the patterns. I'm seeing, lines and dots. That's what I see when I'm playing. That really helps. You right? That's still in that 3. All right. Now let's go to that 6, which right here. That's a 6 right here, but it's also right here for the octave. I'm gonna use the octave. I do that a lot. I'll throw in an arpeggio in my licks, especially reverse ones, or you would say inverted. But here we go. Pentatonic. Now pentatonic here. All right, arpeggio. Try it. Sorry, jeez. Another one. Another one. Right here, triad. Another triad. Another triad's here. All right, arpeggio. Ah. You see Yeah, that works. All right, so I'm gonna stop that here. I'm gonna go through the modes real quick. Again, this is in C. I'm just gonna go from 1 to 1 all the way up. So I'll go from the first mode, second mode, third mode, fourth mode, fifth mode, sixth, seventh, and back to the 1 all the way down here. Because that's one of the things modes help you do. They help you get from the low end to the high end, and you can do it in a beautiful fashion if you want to play around like that, or if you're doing improv. As long as you know the chord changes, you can throw modes in there if you know chord changes. If you know, like I said, a song goes 6, 4, 1, 5. When you play that 6, you could throw a mode in on that 4 if you wanted to. Maybe do a triad on that 4, or an arpeggio on that 4, or even run the full scale on that 4. But let's say you run it backwards, or you do it in thirds or whatnot. Same thing with going to if you go to the 1, the same thing. You can throw a triad in there. You can do arpeggios, and some of these you can even throw in different scales. Like maybe a diminished or something like that, depending on what you're doing. But we're talking about modes. But I'm gonna go through all the modes real quick, and then we're gonna end this video here. Again, starting off with C. All right. First mode. Second mode. Starting on the 2. That was starting on the 2. Third mode, starting on the 3. All right. Fourth mode. All right. Started on the 4. Now we're going to the 5. Fifth mode. All right. Moving on to the 6. All right. Now the 7. I messed it up. Let's do the 7 one more time. All right, and down to the 1. All right, and that is modes. And I probably went off track at some point in my brain, and it's gonna show on this video. But guess what? I still went over modes in a way that should be understandable. But again, you have to know the major scale. That is a good starting point, as a good foundation. You don't have to be an intermediate or advanced player to learn this. As long as you know the C major scale and you can count 1 to 7 and another 1 to end it with the octave. But if you can count and you know the scale, you can do the mode. And again, first note, a C. And you can do this in any key. It's the same idea. 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on and so forth. But again, you could do this in any key. If I were, and the cool thing, if you learn, if you learn the patterns in numbers, you don't have to exactly know the notes within a key, as long as you know where they start. So let's say we're doing a song and it's in G, right? And I know that's really close to C as far as spacing, so it's not going to look as different. So let's actually say, let's say F sharp, right? If I'm in F sharp, the pattern for a major scale on a bass or guitar is the same. It doesn't change. Same pattern, same shapes. It's the same. And the same thing with the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Yeah. And then back to the 1. So yeah, so it doesn't change, and I think, I can't remember if I just accidentally changed keys. Again, I'm so used to playing my 5 and 6, so when I'm thinking of F and I play a 5 string, this is my F, so I may have messed up there. I may have messed up. Dang it. Nah. But yeah. So, but anyway, any key that you're in, it's the same concept. If you know the pattern, the patterns are going to be the same going up. It does not change. The patterns are still the same. All right? So if you're learning guitar and bass, as long as you know your major scale to start off with, that's in C again. If you know your major scale pattern to start off with, that is a great tool to have, because that is going to be the thing that allows you to understand what these patterns are and how they work. Once you know how these what these patterns are and how they work, you'll be able to move around way more freely. You won't be scared to move up here, or or whatever, because you'll know how to get back. And that's also why it's a good reason, or a good reason to learn skills back and forward, especially with the modes, because if you're doing something complicated, and let's say you land on the six in C, you got to know how to get back to that C, or to the C. You have to know how to get back to the root, and being able to go back and forward on these scales will allow you to move up, and not be too scared to move away, because you know what the next note is going to be, or the next number, if you're using notes or numbers, depending on however you play. But anyway, hopefully that wasn't too long. It kind of was long. It was 26 minutes at this point. I was hoping it'd be 10 minutes, but I talk a lot. But hopefully that was helpful. And that's all I got for you. All right, so peace out.